Okay, so the end of another week at Fostering Classics. Guard dog on duty. Looks like it's going to be a glorious weekend. I've spent all week working on the Jaguar, getting the car ready for paint. I've got all next week to completely finish the tasks, and I've had made good progress this week. Amazingly, the car still looks the same, but it's very different. So we repaired a big section here that was Frankensteined on by the previous person, so that's now a proper but welded seamed job, and all the way around has been corrected. A little bit more filler than I would like to use on a car, but that was partly due to the way that the repairs have been done previously. All the detail is in things like this. This part of the guttering was missing, so it's I've had to weld new sections in, and also where the door rubbers fit into the channels here. These channels didn't exist. They'd been ground off as the new seals had been fitted, so there had been nowhere to clip the rubber seals in. So all that effort is in the detail really this week. Continue to walk around, try to keep steady. Reprofiled the rear wing. I've taken the rear spat off now to do work underneath, but now this is a really good profile. We managed to reshape the quarter, again quite brutally with big hammer etc, to reprofile to the correct shape, and then it's just meant that we've only got a light skim of filler over there just to get rid of the roughness. Again, I've managed to buy the panels to reform this shape that I was scratching my head, so that's now taking shape. There's just a little bit of finishing off to do there, and the same on this side, just reprofiling, filling. Just had the first fill now and need a second fill just to get the level right. The doors are still on at this side. Not expecting too much work to do here. I've just been reprofiling at the bottom, just reshaping, getting the gaps correct and making sure that the profile sits nice and flush, and then quickly walk around. The doors are off on the driver's side just because I want to make sure that there's no corrosion inside. I want to turn them upside down. Hello, you're awake, ready to go home I think. And then around this side, so this is a completely new section that I talked about in the previous video. It's now fitting properly, and if I can steady the video in, you will recall my comments about the gaps that were 2 centimeters out on this side. They're now corrected. So this is a really good fit. This is now profiled properly, ready to just finally skim with filler just to make sure there's no high or low spots, and then prime in etch primer, ready for next week. Excuse me. I've got some preparation work under the bonnet area still to do next week. Not much, just to take off some old underseal that didn't get stripped off as part of the stripping process, so that it's nice and ready for paint. And I've still got the roof to do. You may recall that the roof had some items stored on it when we bought the car, and it's dented, so I need to heat up the roof panel and try and pop the dents out without damaging it. So that's going to be a good project for next week, to try and get that ready as well. And then the other parts that we'll see about time next week. It may be that I just do the outer body next week and when the car comes back from paint, I'll then attack these sections that, so I'll probably tackle the underbody sections after the car comes back from paint. It's quite an in-depth job because I need to change, if I can show you, there's 2 sections here. There's an inner and an outer, and it runs all the way up to here, to this point on the chassis rail. So I need to cut that out and replace. I've ordered the replacement parts. It's going to be quite an in-depth job. The risk being is if I try and tackle it after the car's been painted, any spatter from weld can potentially damage the paintwork, so it's going to be a little bit of a nervous time. So depending on how I get on next week, I'll either try and get that work done before it goes for paint, or just protect the paintwork the best I can when it comes back. And that's it really. I'm really happy. The car looks a real mess. I appreciate from the video that it still looks in a really bad state, but it's the detail that's gone into it. You know, finessing absolutely everything and making sure there's absolutely nothing wrong with it at all. It needs to be a really top class job, paint job, this car. So the detail is in preparation and getting the detailing correct, otherwise people will see it. Last weekend we went to Ragley Hall, to a classic car show there, and you can see some of the cars that look absolutely amazing, you know, like they've had an amazing paint job, and then you get close to them and you start seeing flaws in the paintwork, or you might see a few pinheads where they've not filled little tiny holes in the filler like this here. And you can see it, you know, as you get close and as you start to look for perfection, you can see these things. So this is the biggest project we've done to date, and it needs to be perfect. So that's why I'm happy I've got next week just to finesse and finish everything and get to make sure it's absolutely ready for paint.